Welcome everyone
Hey.
to the Liberated Minds podcast. My name is Claudio and I'm here today with my great friends Adam and Johnny. Welcome back, guys. It's a pleasure to be recording another podcast with you guys.
Likewise.
I'm
Thank you.
very happy to be here.
Thank you for having us again.
So before we lead on to today's topic of discussion, I want to share a story that actually touched me quite a bit recently. There is this guy in Funchal. He lives on the streets. He's a homeless guy, and I've seen him, like, as often is the case with a lot of homeless people. They're on drugs and alcoholic and all this stuff. But when I saw him, he didn't strike me as someone who was like that. So this guy, to me, appeared to be like just a genuine guy who actually kept up with his dignity quite well despite his circumstances. And anyway, like, I give money to people anyway, but like I started to sort of, every time I saw him, I'd buy him dinner. And initially I didn't give him money, I just would buy him dinner. And anyway, I just approached him. I just came across him yesterday, randomly. I was just going for brunch, and he was on a bus stop, and he saw me, and he was like smiling in right away, acknowledged me. I came up to him, handshaked him, how you doing? And then he goes, he started saying, he immediately just goes on one, and he just immediately started singing. He goes like, singing actually helps to soothe your soul, he was saying. And then he started singing, which at first I found kind of cringe, because he wasn't singing very well. It was sort of like cringe, but he was singing. He's saying it was really helping soothing my soul, singing. And then he started going on about God, and which I found quite, despite his circumstances, he was still praising God. And then he opened more about himself. He started saying all this additional stuff, and then opened up more about himself. And he lifted up his top. He showed me that he had the stomach cancer, and visible stomach cancer, a black spot like in the middle of his stomach, like visible. You could. Actually, but before he said that, before he showed me that, initially he told me that he's thinking of ending his life next Thursday. It was Thursday. It was Wednesday. And so he said by next Thursday. I hope he didn't mean today. I assumed he meant next week. He might have meant today. And at first I didn't really have the words I didn't really know what to say. My first instinct was to tell him, we each have to carry the weight of our own cross, or be crushed by the weight of it. So, and I was trying to say how his suffering, I wanted to say how his suffering is actually good for him. And then he showed me his stomach, and he told me, I've got cancer, I've got diabetes. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I just didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. And he went on, but the whole time he was just praising God. He was just saying how, everything. So it seemed to me that he was reflecting quite a bit about his life. And anyway, he gave me a hug. There was some additional things to it. I don't want to go into the whole depth of it, because I don't want to share some parts. But he gave me a hug, kissed my neck, which I thought, I was like, oh, but like, I sort of, anyway. And then I went on my way, and I've been thinking about it quite a lot. And
when did it happen?
When? It was yesterday. But the reason I'm sharing this story is because that whole experience, so often we're like just caught up in our own world, and about our own ambitions and what we're trying to get, what we're trying to achieve. And then this happened, and this was like a real experience, it sort of like fills you with humility, because you go on from that, and you're a different person, and
yeah, humility is such a huge thing, because actually that's one of your keys to success as well, I believe. Like true success, that means fulfillment, that means meaning, that means happiness, it means joy. It comes from humility. Like if you're only riding on your own wave sort of thing, yeah, you can achieve a lot of stuff. You can have success, you can have whatever you want, but will it be true fulfillment? Like, can you actually help others? Can you actually see others suffering, and have the ability also to find some place for them to feel some peace, like you did. Buy him some lunch. You don't know what the person is going through, right? Maybe ending his own life is actually the best solution.
Yeah.
You don't know that, right? But just being there for the person, I think it's enough.
So what I was trying to get this into is essentially the conclusion of that conversation, which was like basically, and will bring us now on to the topic of discussion today, which is basically the question, which is like, how do you want to die? How do you want to die? And for me, I want to die with really like the moment of my death. I want to have these like fantastic relationships, these fantastic friendships, this fantastic relationship with my wife, fantastic relationship with my children. But like, I want to have true friends, and I want to be surrounded with these meaningful relationships, which is the topic of discussion today, which is friendship.
Friendships. Yes.
Beautiful opening. Thank you for sharing the story.
So we can share about. I don't want to go on length because I've already gone on quite a bit, but like we can share how we can tell the story of how we met, which would be a great way to start. First of all,
well, maybe you'll give the context of what happened before we met.
And we're also limited by how much we can speak, how much we can actually share. We can't actually tell all the freaking details, which is unfortunate, but we can touch on a lot of it.
I'll let you guide it then.
Yeah. So obviously the stuff we can't share online, right? The obvious stuff.
I mean, depends. I would share, but
you would? You think? No, it's to be too dangerous, I think.
Yeah.
Like we can, but we just can't tell all the details. We can't go into detail.
Okay, sure. We've been in a retreat. Yeah.
I'll start first by how the whole situation led into me being in that position where I met you both. So
maybe, sorry to interrupt, but maybe just for the audience, we give a little bit of an introduction to what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
What are some of the primary subtopics that we're going to be covering, and people can have roughly an idea.
Sure. So we'll be discussing basically mainly around the topic of friendship. So we'll be discussing, first we'll be sharing how we become friends and the principles of friendship. We'll be touching on relationships that exist only through common interest. How, again, we'll often be talking about our own friendship. We will just be discussing also how one can make friends. We'll be discussing who the friends you don't want to have around.
Sounds like a nice menu.
Yeah.
I'll have the main dish and some dessert.
We'll also be touching on the correlation between friendship and mental health. We can. We will also be touching on. A lot of stuff.
Let's roll from there. Let's just roll from there.
Yeah. Cool. So, okay. First things first. The importance of following your calling. Like, if you have this deep sense of like, I really want to do this, and just even if it doesn't happen for a long time, just keeping at it. As long as it takes. And so, at the top of my bucket list, the thing I wanted to do most out of everything in the world was ayahuasca. For 10 years. For 10 years, since, for 10 years, the thing I wanted to do most was ayahuasca. And I came close a number of times, and I was supposed to do it a number of times. And then it never happened. I came close in Bali, came close in Thailand. Should have gone in a number of years before to Peru as well. Did not go. Anyway, I found myself in Madeira. And I'm talking about this same topic again, as I always talk about it, because it's such a big interest of mine. I really wanted to do it. And I was talking about it with a friend of mine at the time who basically told me, oh, there is ayahuasca in Madeira. You can go on so-and-so and ask about it. And so he pointed it out to me. And I did. I went on to this thing. I asked about it. And the first group that I asked about they said, "Oh, it's too late. Can't get you into this one."
Mm.
And then somebody else, the person who was running the retreat that we were both on.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Alert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reveal that too quick. But anyway, he reached out to me and said, "Oh, well, you can join our retreat." And so I did, and then we met there at the retreat, at the ayahuasca retreat, and immediately we had this immediate connection, friendship right away. And why do you think that was? First of all, like, why do you think we had that immediate connection? Because there was a bunch of other people there who I didn't build a relationship with.
Right. Well, if I try to recall that particular moment in time and what I felt, I think so. I recall seeing someone who is like at peace with himself. It seemed like you are you're kind of anchored in something. So it was mysterious to me because every time I meet people, I'm always, of course, curious about their story, and I felt something deep about you, something about your life experience, perhaps, and that just sparked curiosity, I guess. I didn't really, and that's the funny part, because I didn't really come to that retreat socializing. I don't think Adam as well. Like, it was more of a personal experience that we all came here to do.
Yeah.
But somehow our relationship, our friendship grew out of there. So looking back in time now, I'm still surprised, right, by how life can coordinate things where maybe we wouldn't have met otherwise. And I do want to say that it was a profound way to meet someone else in the place where they're most vulnerable. So it wasn't in a party, it wasn't in a business event, it wasn't in a camp, it was in a place where all the boundaries and illusions are put aside, and you get to meet the person in its vulnerable nature, and you get to experience this amazing roller coaster in these few days. So long answer to a short question, but I can't put my finger on why it happened, but I do believe that I trust my intuition when it comes to these things, and I realize that some people come into your life in certain parts of your life for a reason you may not comprehend logically initially, but over time the picture gets clear, and hopefully we'll touch upon where our friendship and that picture stands right now.
Yeah.
And if I may remind you guys that although we had a really good connection on the retreat, and I think it's a lot to do because we had such good conversations, honest, open conversations, about our past, some things that we're going through, and we really kicked it off really well. But if I would remind you guys that we haven't really kept in contact from that retreat.
Right, yeah.
We kind of,
right. Okay, I can talk about this part of the story, because that was a fucking synchronicity.
You wanna tell the story?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll just touch upon that real quick, because you're right. There was a gap. So there was a gap between the ayahuasca retreat where we met and when we actually became friends.
Yeah.
Started hanging out together.
Or started hanging out.
We exchanged contacts, but we didn't
right. So we exchanged contacts, and then we were hanging out in our village. Claudio lives like 40 minutes away in a city called Funchal, and two of my friends from London were visiting, and we went to this bar, and
in our village, which is far away.
40 minutes away.
Yeah, 45 minutes away, and it was it was just such a auspicious moment, because I was literally standing and talking to them about Claudio, who is my friend from London or something like that, or about the retreat, and then I turn around and I see Claudio behind me, and that's a 45-minute drive from his house with that particular place.
Middle of the week, no other people in the bar.
Yeah,
Only
and it was the middle of the week. It was completely empty.
Yeah, I was there by myself.
And Claudio was there by himself, and I'm just standing talking about Claudio, turning away, and I see Claudio, and I'm like, whoa, what? I haven't seen this guy in 2 months, and at that moment I knew that something is about to unfold.
True.
Yeah.
And
I think we all felt it.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I knew when I was going there. I already knew I was going to see you guys.
Did you?
Yeah, I already knew.
Wow.
And when you were there, like, oh, there you are.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't go there in expectation of seeing you
I
guys,
know.
but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew
yeah.
that I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
see you guys.
crazy.
Mm. Interesting.
So yeah,
Really interesting.
It's really it's new. I didn't know that.
it's also interesting how the friend who pointed it out to me, where to go to do this ayahuasca. After he fulfilled his purpose, which was to point me towards that direction, we never spoke again.
Hmm.
Like
Haven't spoke again.
No, never. We never spoke again. We
Wow.
stopped being friends after that.
Ah,
So he's basically he came into my life, fulfilled his purpose, left.
interesting.
It's so interesting the way that works, because if he hadn't come into my life and told me that wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so wonderful the way these things unfold, you know.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's magic. It's miracles and
Yeah.
magic if we spend
I
the
think
time
it's-
reflecting on events and how they
Yeah.
happened.
If I just may put one sentence on all of it up until this point, it's good to remember that we're operating in a fine-tuned instrument that we call creation, we call the universe. We don't recognize much of it from the small perspective that we operate from, but when we look at events in our lives, usually things make sense. In a hindsight bias, usually things make sense. Oh yeah, he told me about this retreat where I met these guys, and these guys are helping me do this, and blah 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 blah. It's like this. It sort of builds itself up. But if you're sort of trusting enough in yourself and also in the creation, God, whatever you may call it, just the science. It could be anything, right? It could be art, it could be spirit, it could be anything. But having this sense of fulfilling your calling, as you started, going on this journey of, I'm gonna listen to myself, to what do I really need, and even if it's not the right time for it, like you wanted to do in Bali, the ayahuasca, understanding that it's not the right time. I don't need to push it. Sometimes in life you don't need to push things. You just need to wait for the right moment where it actually all like a puzzle pieces, and then you look back at it and it all just fits in. So yeah, just coming back to this point of trusting your calling and trusting the timing of things,
Yep.
and trusting the friends and trusting the people.
Which is how you find your tribe, is by following your calling. And we should also touch on what has unfolded during this last year of our friendship, which is us starting the podcast together. Also us launching the Casa Zen retreat house together. What came,
You'll hear more about that soon.
like all these like wonderful things, and not to mention just the wonderful friendship that we have, but also all the things that were able to come true because of that.
Exactly.
And how
Exactly.
our, for example, our speed of development is just expanding at a much
Exponentially.
From these sort of friendships that are able to sort of like come true.
I mean, maybe we shouldn't expand on like the in between, but just put a bow on it that Casa Zen, the house that we are operating now, has been a very big milestone in our friendship.
Yeah.
So we experienced some things there, and it really bonded us together. And during this time, we haven't even thought that we're going to be actually the people who are sort of owning the place and actually building it out to future events and retreats, and the podcast, we're probably going to have a spot there for it. So it all just come together, right? Things that you cannot even sort of comprehend from the beginning are making sense along the way. So it's
and not to mention also that it was freaking Johnny who suggested that I take on the project. It was Johnny who who was thinking about me before I was thinking even of myself. So
that's friends.
yeah, because initially when Johnny was the one who suggested it, and in my head I was like, no. Then I thought about it. No, that's actually a fantastic idea. Let's do it. And
Yeah, there was some. I remember you're doubting it, and then you're like, "All right, let's try. Let's give it a try. Why not?"
And which is something that wonderful things can happen for you when you're around friends who care for you, and he want what's best for you. So, going forward now, we can touch on. I'd just like to touch on the fact that how our friendship reminds me of the sort of friendships that I used to have as a child. Like, because I just show up here, totally unannounced. Adam's on a corner, like with his corn cruncher.
Man, I'm usually working. Let's delete it out.
Wait, what's the corn cruncher?
It's a meme. It's a meme.
Yeah, I didn't say it to you, but like it's an upgrade from your
Oh, the girlfriend
yeah, it's an upgrade. This one does
corn
work.
cruncher. Okay, maybe we can put it as a sponsor for our next episode.
Yeah, we could.
We do that.
So yeah, like I just show up here unannounced, and actually now it brings me on to the topic of like how actual friendships are meant to be, because so often actual friendships that people have so commonly is based on around a common interest. And but if you strip away this common interest, actually you'll find that there is no friendship there, because outside of that common interest, what can you actually talk about? There is no there's nothing fundamental there. There is nothing substantial actually behind the friendship.
That's why I think there's such a big distinction between buddies and friends. Friends is like someone you can deeply trust. It's like a family member in a way, right? It's someone you have been through, experiences. You have been through trials. It's somebody you gain trust with. So having somebody like that, you can show up unannounced and like eat from my fridge, and I'm gonna be like, "Yo, what's up, man?" I'm not even surprised, right? That's the kind of relationships and friendships that I guess we are all striving for. But it of course carries much more than just the common interest.
Yeah,
it carries an adventure together, right?
But it also is a lot of people are unable to make these friendships because they haven't met themselves that deeply yet, and so they can only make friendships based on like a common interest. Like I don't need to, we don't need something to do for us to come and hang out. Does that make sense? I can just come and chill here like unannounced, and we'll just chill. Whereas for example with some other friends that I might have where we're not that close, we need something, like we need an event, otherwise we can't hang out because there's nothing to maybe we're not that close yet, and so that's an issue. It's a fundamental problem in people's relationships, which probably roots back to not having met themselves that deeply, and then not having expressed or pursued that deeper friendship through that. Yeah, just.
I think we spoke already about it in previous podcasts, but in every relationship that you want to build, it doesn't matter with whom it is. Eventually, it all comes back to yourself. It all eventually comes back to the relationship with yourself. A friend of mine was here, and he said it best, that you need to be in a place where your comfort zone is inside of yourself. You cannot put your comfort zone outside, because if you have it somewhere outside, you will always seek it outside. But if you have a sense of inner peace within yourself, there is also, it's like a friendship. You have to build a friendship with yourself before you can even try to do it outside. Like you got to understand the principles of trust, of what it means to be vulnerable, of what it means to surrender, what it means to collaborate. Like all of these things you already need to understand deeply before you can actually go out and build it out with somebody else. That's why I think marriages, it's such a journey. To be married to a person, you got to go through so many things, and eventually couples who are even married, for a few years, they still have a little bit of distance, right? As time goes on, 30, 40 years, then you can say, they grew together like, like a tree, right? Like roots. But it all basically stems back to yourself. How much can you trust yourself? How much are you close to yourself? How much do you know yourself? What are your hobbies? Do you even have hobbies? Do you have any interests? Do you have any learning, subjects that you're learning, right now? If you do, then you can also develop it outside. It's all a mirror. What you do inside is also going to be represented outside. That's actually a good point, because you spoke to us before about, how you had kind of trouble like making friends or like finding your people, but you already had this inner center, right? So it's all a matter of time. Again, it's all a matter of time. Like, don't be stressed about time. Kind of give yourself the space to develop this and be trustful enough that if I have the center, I will find the right people for me. I will find the right place. It might not be here. That's why I'm experiencing all of these, difficult experiences. Maybe I've had, people are backstabbing me. So maybe it's not the right place for me. Maybe that's why I'm being pushed, to another place. So it's all just listening to this instrument, rather than fighting it and coming back to yourself. So, yeah. I didn't want to go on a tangent, but
no, that was good. like I had something in mind, but sort of slipped out of my head just now. But while we're on the topic, we can discuss now. We can begin to discuss how to form these deep relationships. How do you think we can form these deep relationships? And in my opinion, it roots to first learning to be a good friend. You know, so often it's like we want a good partner, we want a good friend, but are we actually good friends ourselves? You know, what is it to be a good friend? Essentially, it's to be a good human. You know, and once you have those friendships, actually, are your goals and your values aligned, or are they misaligned? Because if they are misaligned, we meet at a similar level. But if one person is a growth mindset, and you're not, eventually he's gonna grow, and then now you're gonna be on a, you're gonna grow out of touch because you've totally misaligned. So there's an importance also in friendships to be of similar like goal, like. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do. Although I think there is some nuance to that, I find, and mention a few things. So I'll touch on two of those. The first is what does qualifying as a friend mean? How do you qualify to be a friend? And are there written rules or kind of a social contract around what a friend is? And I think oftentimes the social contract for friendships is relatively restricting rather than opening up, similar to most relationships out there as well. But I think I'll come to that after the second point. And the second point that you mentioned, I think, or at least if I inquire into what friendship is in my life, and I observe the closest 5 friendships that I have, or 4 friendships that I have, I do recognize some similarities among my best friends, but I also see different archetypes that I befriend in those people. So maybe you can be a great friend of mine, but my warrior archetype really vibes with you, and maybe my other archetypes really vibes with someone else, and maybe you have this other archetype that really vibes with someone who watches, I don't know, manga, right, for example, or Naruto, and I've never watched this. Unfortunately, I wasn't gifted with that, but I'm just saying that the common denominator is something that's more, I find, like sometimes related to upbringing as well. Like if you grew up in, and again, sometimes it depends on our ability to hold relationships with people that are different than us as well. But most of my friends, for example, I notice they all have very loving mother. They grew up with in a very loving family, for example. And I realized that that's, for me, is a foundational thing in relationships, because if people were brought up in such a healthy environment, it's perhaps indicative of the character of the person, of their entire developmental journey, right? So maybe we don't align on necessarily the path, right, or the day-to-day ambitions, quote unquote, but we can really resonate on the
heart level.
On the heart level, yeah. So I think, and that ties into the previous point of we can befriend people to the extent that we can befriend ourselves. And I think the more we befriend ourselves, the more we can open up to befriend more people. But then I also think it's a matter of kind of chance or life to position the people around you in proximity to you. For example, if we live in Madeira, we can only be friends because we both live here. It's harder to do friendship if you live halfway across the world. And
I mean, I have some friends like that.
Right, and that's like that. So that's also right. That's kind of a contract. Like, you're my friend, but we're talking about a friendship. For me, friendship is like a relationship. Okay, so most of my friends in Israel, I don't talk to them. I talk to them once every few months. We get in contact once every 3-4 months, and we hop on a call, and it feels like we met each other yesterday.
3-hour call,
2-hour call, and you cover everything, right? So I think it's also depending on age. Friendship is a matter of age. Um,
For example, between us, when you're away or I'm away, we generally don't really speak that much over the phone, and that could just be, a trait of yours.
right.
Because, for example,
So that's the last piece. Sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
no.
that's the last piece about what qualifies being as a good friend. Because if I think about it, I'm probably the most terrible friend out there because I rarely buy gifts for birthdays. I rarely, I did have some time when I actually try to keep in touch, but
you guys did buy me a gift for my birthday, though.
what's that?
You did buy me
Oh,
a gift for
I
my
mean,
birthday.
because you see, that's
The win.
Yeah, the
it's
wind.
a special friendship. So yeah, what is a good friend? Because I think oftentimes it's really the intention that you show and the quality of time.
Which, by the way, is a wonderful display. I mean, it goes totally against your nature as a Jew.
Right, to
Of what?
to build community.
No, to give someone a gift.
Right. No, I just pick up.
And I received one,
we
so
just get the coins. It's,
I received one, so.
No.
so just regard it, because you brought up an interesting point about how do you qualify to be a good friend. What are some of the primary qualities for y'all when it comes to friends? Maybe Adam, you want to take a stab at it?
What would be the most important qualities for me to require?
Right, because
friend
you
to
have a
have?
very high bar for calling someone a friend. Like you've always been very specific about who do you
Selective.
call friend, who do you call an acquaintance, and who do you call a buddy, and who do you
Yeah.
call.
I think
So
we probably
Adam,
all
you
share that same mentality. 'Cause would you say you're selective with who?
Yeah, Adam has been always very accurate. Like I've always been saying my friend. He's like, this is not your friend.
This is not your friend.
This is just a guy, you know his name and he knows your name and you spoke on the Zoom for 3 hours, but he's not your friend.
I think it makes a difference. Like it gives more importance to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
You can't just call
Yeah.
everyone your friend.
But
I think.
it's a bit of a nuanced question, right? Because each friend will be different, right? Each person has a different upbringing, different interests. You cross pollinate sort of. But foundationally, I think it's important. There are a few qualities that I do look for. I'm not looking for friends. It kind of shows up in your life, and the people who are resonating on the same way, like on the same qualities that you are not consciously seeking. Like I'm not consciously seeking these qualities in a person, but it's like the person who is glowing with these qualities, such as trust, such as humility, vulnerability, honesty. Being open.
Well, trust builds, right? Trust
And
isn't always
tru-
right there at the beginning.
It's true, yeah. Trust builds, but I believe it's from a position of honesty. Like you cannot lie to me on something
Right.
small and
Authenticity is the first layer of resonance.
So authenticity, yeah, that would be I think the best
authenticity
word.
opens the door to connection, which is the two fundamental layers of a friendship. If those two are there, so truth leads to connection, and then which can then lead on to trust.
Yeah, I highly agree with it.
Which was the first layers that were there actually. Which was what you said initially about me, was that I came across as like very authentic. So.
Oh man, yeah, you were. I mean, we had so just for context as well. So when we came in, it was like, us and a few women which are older and a few guys which are older, and then you have Claudio.
No hot chicks.
No hot chicks this time.
No.
But you have Claudio sitting on the side by himself, a proper Portuguese man in his 30s, capable of being a police officer. And I'm like, why is there a cop here? What's happening? But you showed such great qualities of being an open human, authentic human, of crying. I mean, bro, we were talking about personal stuff, and you shed a few tears, and there was this and they gave you a hug, like a proper hug. It's like, why do you, we don't need to be embarrassed by these things. These are the things that actually show us ourselves, that show people ourselves, that show our, other people to us. Like, why do we need to shy away from it? Like, let's be open, let's talk about our parts, let's see which friends we might encounter along the way. So yeah, it's just a funny thing, because I thought you're like this cold guy, you're sitting there like, it's like you just arrested somebody. And then we start talking, you're like, yeah man, I'm having like a wonderful time, and I'm looking around, and I just came back, and I just had this thing, over, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So beautiful times, man. Yeah.
I remember you had this beautiful. Anyway, I'm taking the tangent, but you had a cool shirt as well, and I asked you where the shirt's from.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that this friendship reminds you of your friendships back in when you're little. What's the qualitative element of this friendship that brings you back those memories, or what's similar between that period and this friendship?
It's that childlike spontaneity of the entire friendship. It's like to hang out as a kid. You didn't actually need. You just show up, knock on the door. Hey, let's hang out. Let's go do whatever. There's nothing to do, but it was a different time as well. Especially here in Madeira at that time. So I mean, we're just gonna hang out. We're just gonna do some child stuff, and essentially, it's similar in that regard, in that nature. Whereas I can just come here, and we can just essentially, if we're not doing this on the air, we're doing this off air.
Yeah,
we're just laughing, we're just talking, we're just chatting shit. And we're gonna, and actually. It has such a powerful correlation between friendship and mental health, because I may not be feeling fantastic and I'll come here and I won't be feeling great, and then suddenly we just start talking shit about whatever it is, and then suddenly I feel so much better when I'm laughing. And
it reminds me of a really deep experience me and Johnny shared on the last weekend. Where we were doing a journey, psychedelic journey, and then we noticed this oscillation where each one of us, and it kind of it's like a lot of things that happen in life just ran really quickly in this 5-minute time frame, more about an emotional state, where I'm feeling really really dense, and feeling really low, and Johnny is here, and then I put his hands on him, and he hugs me, and suddenly I feel this. It's as though you're getting pulled right by vibration, and once I was here, suddenly he had to go, and experience his emotions, through this bottom layers, and suddenly he started crying a bit, and I'm standing there holding the center. So he was pushed up to this limit, to this, to this bar. And what I'm trying to say here, this analogy for what the analogy here is that we are, in a way, crutches, but not in a crutch way where you're just leaning and you're dependent on the person, but more in a way that you have this collaborative, way that if I'm feeling down, I always have somebody to go to and, talk about what I'm going through. And even if I don't want to talk about what I'm going through, probably having my mind off of it by spending time, spending some good time in a restaurant or just making jokes or whatever, it's gonna be very, very stabilizing for me. So I think it's a very good point to remember how, friends are such a good thing in life, because they allow you the freedom of not walking it alone, and reminding you that you can always rely on, again, a friend which you would consider a friend, right? Not somebody that you just you grew up with or something. Sometimes people change, but the other person that that you can trust on, you can lean on. That would be a better one. It's leaning, when you need this. It's not being dependent on them, but it's leaning, right? It's hey man, I need some advice, or I'm just feeling bad, can you hang out with me, whatever. It doesn't even need to be spoken about. But it's more about just the understanding, the remembrance of we have each other, and we can lean on each other when we need to. Already gives you so much empowerment, so much this agency, this freedom. It's you're not a solo warrior. You're a solo warrior, but you have a few guys you can call for backup if if you got a bunch of guys running against you, sort of thing. So yeah.
Man, there's so much that we can say, and we have so much to say, but I feel like we went on just a slight little bit of a tangent, because the initial question was actually, how do you make those deep friendships? And so I just wanted to close it up before moving on to the next topic. It would be just essentially, I think, is meeting yourself deeply, becoming a good human being, assessing yourself, seeing what needs to be worked on, what you need to become a good friend, and then applying those things, because essentially that's what I've had to do. And I haven't always found easy for a number of reasons to make friends, and sometimes that's due to just personal circumstances in your life that don't enable you to feel confident or comfortable enough. But I've worked really hard, and now I find it much easier to make friends, and that's generally because I'm more comfortable with in my own skin, and so that is essentially how. But just to finish off as well, because often it's the case that a lot of people don't even think that you can actually have true friends, and that is a disease that's a lot of people live with. But just on the way here, I went to pick up a delivery for you, and this guy was telling me how stories about how he's learned, there are no true friends, they're only acquaintances. These are concepts that a lot of people live with, and unfortunately, so if that is the case, that is generally because you have unrealized shadow worked that you haven't dealt with, and that is manifesting itself in your friendships and leading to betrayal, because due to poor selection, because you're either trauma bonding with these people or you are just connecting with people based off some low resonance, which is leading to betrayal, which is leading to hurt. But if you can raise yourself out of the depths of the shadow and into a higher state, then you can build friendships that are actually based on love, based on trust, based on fundamental qualities, right? And he told me, I've had friendships for 20 years and then they betrayed me. And he told me, like, my mom always used to say, remember, there are no friends, there are only acquaintances. And then he goes, like, your only friend is your stomach. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't even know what to say to this, man. I'm not going to try and, like, I don't think I can change this guy's mind. He's like in his 40s, I don't know, 50s. It's too late for him,
I think it's such an important topic you just brought up, man.
Yeah.
Like, this point is just exactly, I think that's the introduction and the finish line of this whole conversation, like how to make friends is essentially make a friend within yourself, to yourself.
Yeah.
And what does it mean? Like, you'll discover along the way, what does it mean? What does it actually mean to be really honest with yourself, to stand up for yourself, to confront yourself on things that you're betraying yourself on. Yeah. Like this sort of stuff.
Like, some people sometimes ask me to hang out. I'm like, because right away you pick up on resonance on a person's resonance. I'm like, I'm not gonna hang out with you because I can't trust you, and I can pick that up. I'm picking that up. Like, I don't want you to follow me on Instagram. Don't ask me for coffee. I don't have time for coffee, bro. I'm busy. I got a shit ton of things to do. Like, I'm either gonna work on myself or I'm gonna be hanging out with my actual friends. Like, I don't want to hang out with you if I don't trust you, So, and often that is the problem. People need to work on themselves. Become an awesome human being. People will want to be around you. They will want to know you,
True.
So,
and I would say the second thing, and then,
No, I'm good. Keep going.
Freaking fly here.
Yeah.
Oh, my freaking
he's going
head.
wild. He's going wild. The second thing I would say, and I don't know if it's applicable, but it's traveling. Just going outside of your country, going outside of your city, just traveling around, seeing different minds, different cultures, Imagine you're growing up in the same place, which is the same city sort of, so, okay, you saw like 1,000 people, throughout your, the entire school years, right? Or something. You saw like 1,000 people, out of them, you'll make a few friends, right? But if you'll travel around, and you see different cultures, different mindsets, different ways of growing up, different religions. It's like it opens your mind also to yourself, right? It's the same sort of mechanism. Also, when you travel, you open up to understand yourself better, to be able to hold yourself better. And then from this place, you can also find and attract the people who will resonate with you. So I think it's a good thing to consider, if you are in a place that is kind of struggling to make friends, then initially is just come to terms with yourself. Just don't be afraid to show up. Don't be afraid to be open. Don't be afraid to speak your truth out. If anybody, like, if somebody just doesn't resonate with you, it's fine. You don't need them. Like, it's not a contest of performance. Like, it's fine. I just told you some things. You're not interested in this. It's fine. but go and travel around a bit as well. Find yourself, explore the world. You'll see how all of these stuff is just so fluid.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful how
If
it
you can
works.
be honest about who you are, then you can.
Yeah.
Then essentially we can, like, select for who's meant to be there and who's not meant to be there, like naturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like some people will self-eliminate just by you speaking your truth, and maybe we just don't align on certain values, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and if that's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. Like there's a number of things that we don't like see the world in the same way. It's not a
Mhm.
deal breaker for us. We still respect our own personal views,
Mhm.
and that's an important thing to have, because a friendship is not limited by our own biases, because those things can change, and they
Yeah.
do change all the time. You know.
I would even go as
So-
far as saying that that's what makes friendships beautiful. When you have different perspectives on things, when you can
Yeah.
actually cross-pollinate between, like, I'm right wing, you're left wing. Well,
Mm.
maybe that's an extreme example,
Yeah.
right? But like, we have different,
I don't think those guys
interest.
can be friends.
Huh?
I don't think those guys can actually be
Yeah,
friends.
yeah, maybe
They kill each
that is
other.
an extreme example. But if you look at life differently, it's like I read the sentence a while ago. This quote of, how did it go? Like something along the lines of, "It doesn't matter." Oh man, how did it go? Well, something along the lines of, "It doesn't matter, like, how different we are, as long as we have the same, mission, or the same direction, or the same values. Like, it doesn't matter if you're into martial arts and this and that, and
Yeah.
I'm into
Yeah.
dancing or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what our interests are.
If
Right.
we're both commonly interested in personal growth, for example.
Yeah, as long as we have the same values driving us, like that's the roots of the tree. The tree itself can be different. And that's actually gonna make a nice forest. If you have different trees and you learn a bunch of things, it just opens up your lens.
I think sometimes people are so lonely, and that they just they just make friends because they're lonely, and then those
Yeah.
where do those relationships? What do those relationships lead to? And how do you distinguish between a good friend and a bad friend? It's a wonderful question, because so often people are jealous of your light. They're jealous of where you're going. They're jealous of, like, you share good news with them, and they are not happy for you. They feel like we're strange feet. So do you really want someone around you who doesn't want you to do well in life? Do you really want this? Do you want to call those people your friends? Do you want someone like that around you? It's strange. Like, what's going on here?
Well, that's projection. That's unmet shadow.
Like, imagine if you're doing well and you're doing well in your business, and then your friend, you're doing quite well, and he's feeling all these. That's weird. I don't need these people around me. Those guys are losers, bro. Birds of a feather flock together. Why am I rolling with the loser? I am not a fucking loser, So, yeah, don't be friends with losers, man. Like, you need to have the ability to cut out everyone who's not meant to be there. Why? Because it's so important. If you have the courage and the strength to do that, then you're able to create the space to bring the right people in, And that's something I had to learn along the way, and now I'm pretty good at that shit.
Nice.
You cannot have my Instagram. I don't want to go to coffee with
Like,
you.
every time you're trying to get my Instagram, I'm like trying to deviate, like, from the
my
topic.
battery! I forgot.
Like, oh man, listen, leave me alone.
Yeah, I need to get better at this for sure. Is there anything else I would love to cover?
Yeah,
Oh, bro.
we're running close to an hour already.
But let's go on for a little bit longer, because we haven't touched on a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Sure.
we could.
Like,
That's it.
Yeah.
How long has it been so far, anyway?
Almost an hour.
Almost an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've actually covered a lot already during our conversation. So, yeah. Having the courage.
You said something right before the part of not hanging out with losers. I forgot what it was. But I think it's also important, to the people who are listening, it's important to understand that, there's different solutions to different times in life. So, like, if you are the type of person who is very lonely, and you are the type of person who cannot make friends, it's hard for you, you're feeling very lonely. I have a very close cousin of mine who is he has Asperger, so it's a slight variation of autism. And he just tells me, look, I just cannot make a conversation. I just don't know how. And like, how do you explain spontaneity? How do you explain, just being funny? You can't really explain it, right? So there are people who struggle with social, skills and being more introverted. Myself as well, I'm more introverted. For these kind of people, just go out a little bit. And just go out, just talk to people. Just talk to random people. Get yourself a bit, get moving a little bit, get like mentally moving. Talk to different people. Just try to engage conversations. It doesn't have to be fruitful. It doesn't have to be meaningful. It doesn't have to be life-changing friends, like partners for life. No, that's not the point. Start from something. And you see along the way, through the things that we discussed this conversation, like, building this inner trust, building this inner skills, this flexibility, humor emerges and spontaneity emerges. Like all of these emergent phenomena are actually from a place of openness, right? So it builds along the way. You cannot just go from point A to point Z, just in one day. So just recognize where you are in that, in this scale, so to say, of, how willing you are to be open as a friend. And if you aren't looking for deep friendships for now, you can just, stroll around a little bit, go and explore. Travel maybe a bit, be a digital nomad, check out a few places, talk to different people. From that, you will learn the same principles that operate on a deep friendship. It's like, the same principle could go to a wife, right? Probably the first girlfriend that you have or the first girl that you meet in your life is not going to be your wife, right? Because you learn along the way what you like, what you don't like, who do you resonate with for? What is trust building, right? What does it mean to actually go through fights and actually go through challenges and still make it out together, even stronger, right? So all of these things are learned. You cannot just hear them on the podcast and just say, well, okay, now I know how to make friends. Like, no, it's learned. It's learned usually by hard lessons. So the first step is actually just to start, just to get out there, just to check it out, just do stuff. But if you're at a point where you are already, you're extroverted, you are, you have a bunch of friends, so to say, but you don't have any your real friends, which I've also been in this points in my life where I actually had hundreds, I'm honest here, like a couple hundreds of people I would be in touch with almost on a daily basis. Okay, I would make 70-80 calls a day. Okay, of just hanging out, because I would hang out a lot. It was this time of my life.
It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, it was wild times, man. But I haven't felt as though, like, one day I just sat down and I just thought to myself, if right now something happens, who can I call? Like, really, something really bad happens, who can I call? And I just realized that there is no one. And all of my friends, right, 200, 300 people, whatever it might be, it's just acquaintances. You see them on the street, you talk around, you go and drink, whatever, you go to the bar, but it's not actual friends. You cannot rely on them, right? And actually, there were a few times where shit hit the fan, and I saw the true face of the people, where they ran away, or they weren't sticking around for, the actual price of what we're fucking doing. But in any case, just leads me to, like, in this personal story of mine, that when I came to this point where I realized that I don't have any real friends in a way, I just discontinued my entire contact with all of these people. I erased all of my group chats. They were still my contacts, in the phone, but I haven't been going out anymore. I just stopped going out, at all. People were texting me like, hey, what you doing, what you're up to? Like, I'm just by myself, like, doing my things, like, whatever, I'm busy, like, whatever. Because I realized that it's not worth it. It really doesn't worth it. Because even one friend, real friend, is worth so much more than 100 individuals which you can call, just acquaintances. You cannot rely on them. You cannot just build trust with them. So it's
So you had this realization, and then you just immediately acted on it. And that's so important, because so often people don't even have the realization to begin with, and then don't.
But I guess a lot of people suffer from it. Like, when you live in a city and you do have a bunch of acquaintances, you can have the sort of intuition that, hey, like, I'm feeling kind of off. Something feels off, I do have a bunch of friends that I'm friends, like, a bunch of people that I'm hanging out with, but I don't really have friends. And it's frustrating as well as scary. When you realize it, you're like, well, then, what can I do now? Right? And this is where we come in,
So
with this conversation.
It sounds like you're mentioning the office family. Like the office family, people who work in the city, right? And they hang out with the office co-workers.
Well, sort of, yeah. You can also put it in there, yeah.
But it's like you're only friends because you sort of have to, you have to go back in the next day to work, right?
In a way,
because you need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, just on that note, like I do like I have people in my life who I no longer talk to at this point. But if I called them and said I really need help, they'd show up. And that's the sort of like friendships that I want in my life. It's these lifelong friendships that will last until old age. People I can be friends with and rely on. This is what my goal is to build this. But I think we can start closing we'll close with a few questions just we'll close now with a few questions. I just wanted to finish with one last statement, which is like the famous saying, show me your friends and I will show you your future. But also, show me your friends and I will show you your reality. I will show you your experience, right? Because together, if you have this tendency that you want to have these higher experiences, I don't know, like you want to own a boat, like for example, you want to buy a boat. If you have friends who are of similar mindset, then that can be true a lot faster than. Whereas if you were friends with people who are a little more small-minded, maybe they're like, "Oh, why do you need a boat? You don't need a boat. Like, don't get a boat." And then you never get a boat, and then you never go on the boat, And that's your experience. You never go on the boat, but you really want to go on the boat, So
I think it's also like this box that we're putting on ourselves, like this social box in a way. That if my friends are telling me it's not cool, or it's out of fashion, or maybe it's not a worthy goal to follow, then I won't follow it as well.
I almost caught that fly.
No. Well,
I almost caught that fly. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So just as you were saying, man, like I think friends can be a big enhancer for, the box that we put for ourselves. Suddenly limitations are no longer there. Suddenly we can see a bigger future for ourselves. It's like, hey, well, actually I can be a success, whatever. I can have a powerful career. I can make a powerful change. I was never been told that by any of my friends, but suddenly I hear, I have this group suddenly that tells me, hey, man, you have so much energy. You can be of great impact. You're talking, you're so honest, like, you're a great listener. Like people actually resonate with it, and then you suddenly empower, right? Suddenly you're filled up with energy. Whereas before you were closing yourself in a box. So guys, don't put yourself in boxes. Like that would be the best thing, the best advice probably.
Which is another thing, which is so often when you're so self-absorbed and you can't be interested in someone else, it's like you're such a bore to be around, It's almost narcissistic. No one wants to be around a narcissist,
True.
It's like when all you care about is yourself. Like it's get away from me. I don't want to know you. Like don't be such a narcissist. If you want to have good friends. But like before we close off, I just want to finish now the podcast with like a few questions that we can.
Let's do that.
So the question that I want to ask is just very briefly. We don't have to go on extensively about it. But what do you guys think is more difficult? Just a silly question almost, but like to break up with a partner or to break up with a friend?
Oh, it entails in it so much.
I'll start. I think that oftentimes relationships with a partner, like for me, what a partner is to me, like I don't just call anyone a partner. Like I know a lot of people just date for dating, which is a common problem in the world. I don't do that. I only date. But if I would marry this person, I'd have a wife, I'd have children with these people, with this girl. So, like for me, when I date someone, like relationship, when actual relationship, it's deep, it's fucking deep, and so I think that's ending a friendship, even if it's a really good friendship, is nowhere near as close. It doesn't hurt me anywhere near as close as it would, for example, with my actual wife,
Yeah, I would actually agree. I think I would agree with this
because I've ended like a few friendships with some of my best friends, and that it didn't hurt me anywhere near as much as it freaking hurt me to break up with my girlfriend.
Mm.
And it's still taking me like years to sort of like heal from that breakup and sort of like, finally move on.
Mhm.
So it's, I think for me, in my opinion, obviously, relationship is always.
Well, for me personally, I think that friendships carry less emotional attachment than relationships. Because if it's a girl, then it's a different language. Right. With us, it's joking. We're joking.
Because it's a
with
little
the girl,
bit
it's
different
different.
for girls, isn't it? Cause
it's different. It's completely
they
different.
bitch about like, oh, you're best friends with her now. You're hanging out with her.
No, I'm talking like a relationship between a guy and a girl, right? It's so much more deeper, right? It's like you're involving future in it. You're involving love in it. It's like things that, that if you would take it away from me in a way, that I might feel like, as though something has been taken from me. But a friend on like another, on the same subject, a friend, you're not just breaking up with a friend, right? If it gets too intense. No, it's like, you're just gonna, hey, just go away somewhere, and I'll have some time by myself for a few months, whatever. And then you're like, hey, what's up, man? Let's go for a beer. It's like, I feel that friendships, at least guy friendships, are so much more lighter.
Right. It's so chill, bro.
It's just light.
We're chilling. We're just being guys. We're chilling.
When we
it's
were
simple.
around.
We want to drive some nice cars. We want to go on the boat, like just chill, hang out, be by the beach. Girls have it difficult, man, because they're like, they get jealous and bitchy, and they just I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been a girl, so it's hard for me to say.
But I know that relationship. I've witnessed with girls with friendships, and it's a completely different world from what we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but when it comes to relationships and friendships, I think a friendship ends when trust is revoked, right? When trust is broken down, and usually this event could be very hurtful. So you could be angry or hurtful about the event, maybe hurtful about that person, but you'll say like, okay, I don't need him anymore, because I've seen his true face in a way. Yeah. But I think within a relationship, it's different, because then it's, as I said, it's like there's a future involved, right? There is deeper aspects involved of emotions, of attachment, of maybe you'll come back even, one day, whatever, you're thinking about it. It's like biological in a way. So.
What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Yeah. I think that relationships or more intimate relationships with the partner have more weight.
It's easier.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've always been kind of a solo
lone wolf,
kind of a lone wolf, and to me, I'd never necessarily felt the difficulty of that.
Let me ask you a question now, though. Because this is often the case with friendships, though, that we spend some time with them, right? We spend some time with these friends, and they only generally last a few years. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it was a little bit different because I had a friend from childhood who I broke up with, and it was still a lot easier to do that with than with my girlfriend. But in you guys' case, because you guys are friends, how much more difficult would it be for that? Like to break up this friendship over a friendship with a wife, for example.
Yeah.
Which would be more difficult?
I think it's a bit of a different.
It's a different, right?
I think it's a different equation because, like, we're twins. Twins, like you know each other since day one.
There's nothing there. I don't think there is a relationship that's deeper than twins.
Okay.
Just because the energetic connection that. I mean, just imagine.
We haven't gone on about that yet. We can go on about that before we close a little bit, actually.
Let's just do a little bit of that. Yeah,
sure.
Happy to. Because I do think that we have an interesting, being twins. It's such a cool. I mean, those who have twins will understand, or those that don't will not really understand it.
Because you guys weren't friends for a long time,
right? Because we weren't friends because we there is the whole shadow dynamics interplay that brothers and sisters have for the most part, so we had our own process,
especially during those periods, those early years of immaturity.
And I mean, all the way to growing up, we had also different friends along our lives, sometimes overlap, but then again diverging, and being in different classes and hanging out in different circles and having different even different interests. Actually, growing up, we had relatively different interests, and
growing up, like the first part of life, up until age 6, 7, like the first childhood, that was when the deep trust in a way has been built, right? Because you play around together, you're always there together, but you still don't have the maturity to understand it. And then you grow up into teenagehood, where suddenly you're rebellious, and you fight on every single thing, and then you grow up, and then you discover the fists. So you start fighting with fists, and it's boys as well, but it's been beautiful, to really go through that process. And sorry I'm interrupting, and if you want to add something that, but I think it's beautiful, to go through that process of maturity and finding each other in a mature way already.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like in a way that, a wife maybe would be a similar example in a way, right? Because you're going through this process with somebody, and along the time there are rough periods, but you find, you find both of yours, like, you both find yourselves in a way that you're mature, and you can relate to each other in a language that is much more simple. There isn't like some hidden agendas, or should I trust him or should I not? Like, what is he trying? It's like, no, it's just like, it's honest. Yeah. Like, it's really, really honest. Like, I'm not trying to hide anything from you.
Yeah.
I'm just being myself.
I guess you're right. It is different because there is you guys have not only 2 layers, you have 3 layers of connection, which is you have first of all blood, you have family, then you have friendship, and then you're also freaking twins.
Yeah.
And so I have some of those friendships where it's like family and friend, and there's just this deep sense of love. Like, I want this, but this person belongs, almost like it's part of me, if that makes sense. And to break up with someone like that, to stop talking to them, that would be like, that'd be on my mind forever.
But I think friendships is so much simpler, right? Because you can also not talk to each other for a year.
Yeah,
you can go traveling and you'll still be friends. You're not breaking up with a friend. Like, I don't see it this way. You break up with a friend if something really bad happens. But like with a girlfriend, you need to be in touch. If you're not in touch for a year, then it's like probably
what's going on?
Probably you broke up already, right? So I think it's a different comparison.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Awesome.
Last question.
You wanted to add something?
No, it's all good.
You wanted to add something?
No, all good.
So, what do you value most in a friendship? Is it loyalty, honesty, presence, humor, ambition? I think for me, it's always connection. For me, it's always connection. Number one, it's what I value the most. Connection. If that connection is there, we can work through anything if we really want to.
I think there's a quality you haven't mentioned, but it's important for me more than anything else on the list. Innocence.
Okay. Innocence.
So if the person has the ability to be innocent and open-minded and childlike in his approach to life, his approach to knowledge, his approach to his own personality, so that comes with certain level of depth or life experience, I find that as a common denominator for friends. Yeah, that's what I value the most. And then the other pieces, like you guys said before, I think they're instrumental to retaining a relationship over time, is feeling a continuous growth and trust and loyalty and emergence of even more shared experiences in the relationship. And if any of these things fall away at any point of the relationship or the friendship in this case, it falls away naturally. The whole thing just falls away naturally, because if you can't trust someone and you're a person who's very sensitive and selective with his friends, it just automatically falls away. Like for me, every time someone has broken my trust, even if it was my best friend, it took one time for these people to break my trust and lie to me. And that's just it. It creates rupture in the relationship. You can't fix it. It's impossible to fix it. That's just it. Because
incredibly difficult.
It's just indicative. And that's why it's so important to know why you're friends with someone. Because if the true face gets revealed at some point, it just hurts. It hurts the relationship, right? And that's why I think we need to be very honest as well, of like, okay, we're friends. What do you give me? What do I give you? Like, why am I friends with you? Good times. Maybe you're motivating me. Maybe you're helping me. Whatever the reason is. But being clear about that, I think creates such an open space to so that's the short of it.
So that's what you mean by innocence, because a lot of people would have a different like understanding of innocence. That's why I asked.
I think innocence is a more, and maybe I'm projecting some of it, because I wouldn't say that all of my friends have innocence necessarily, or are open to innocence. I think innocence is our nature as humans. I think we're born innocent, and then we clutter up that innocence with perceived knowledge and information and different life experiences that, you know, make us feel like we know something more than we did before.
Because like for me, I find that innocence sometimes can be linked with naivety and gullibility and lack of perhaps wisdom even.
It's true. When in an unbalanced way, yes, it may definitely be the case.
And in my opinion, the innocence that I often associate with is linked with purity and protection through by not exposing yourself to the world, which is the world that we live in. Let's be honest, is a harsh world. It's a harsh reality. Once you're exposed to the whole dynamic of relationships with freaking manipulators, freaking I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Psychopaths.
Not not psychopaths, but also narcissists as well. All of these things. Once you're exposed to all of this,
toughen up.
it's like a lot of your innocence dissipates.
Exactly.
And so that's why I associate with innocence.
I think when Johnny talks about innocence, although it correlates, like it could correlate to like, you know, naivety or like some purity of, you know, unexplored world in a way, right? You still don't know what's out there and you're kind of like this innocent person. I think that's not exactly, you know, what Johnny is talking about. Innocence is more about the spontaneity, the authenticity, right? The integrity. It's like being a child, but in a mature body, in a mature mind. Okay. Right, a child that can explore, you know, he can play around with different concepts, he can play around with different you know, experiences, he can explore, he can go on adventures. So you see, this is like the innocence. It's like this childlike approach to life where you see you see everything with wonder, you see everything with creativity, you know, you explore life, you come with this like rapture into life, you know, I want to you know, have more of it in a way. I would say this is like this innocence, right? This honesty. Okay.
Right, I see what you're reaching for. I can't quite get the name out of what it is that you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But I guess I can resonate with how you can see that as innocence as well. Yeah. But I see what you.
So that's for me the primary quality.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's a wonderful quality actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, and so final question, guys. What sort of friendships do you want to grow over the next 5 years?
It's a big one.
It is a big one, isn't it? Well,
I think now we're sprouting the seeds of what our relationships will look like in 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a nice ground, like a new ground that is kind of emerging into our playing field. You know, emerging into this life of ours, of how do we view the relationships. I think it's a really big question, though. You know, it might be even too big for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's having partners for life that you're not dependent on. It's an interdependent relationship. It's like, you know, when I'm around you, you know, we can explore, we can share ideas, you know, we can kind of cue off of each other. You know, we can just, you know, eat the world, you know, just go at it. You know, it's people who are curious about life. It's people who are innovators.
Entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial, you know, it's like
driving a Ferrari.
Wait, that's not your turn yet. We're gonna ask you as well.
But yeah, I mean, there isn't a big. I think there isn't one answer to it because, you know, as every process, it's a continuous evolution, you know, and flowering effect of, you know, what might be possible. But I believe the next 5 years of friendships will be very, very fruitful. And not just for, you know, when I look at friendships, I don't think, how is it going to benefit me in a way? I think of it more like it's a representation of myself as well. So, you know, I'm just happy to be myself. I'm just happy to, you know, be part of this world. And the friends that come along the way usually are really cool people. you know. And the more you hang around, the more you explore, the more you're open with yourself, the more you're gonna find these people. So, yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? When you transactional, you don't want transactional relationships.
Yeah, not at all.
Which is a big issue for a lot of people. That people can't see beyond that. It's a terrible ailment that they suffer.
Yeah,
with.
we can do a separate episode just about transactional
friendships and
friendships,
like
relationships, and
it's terrible, man.
even behavior, transactional behavior of
a lot of people,
the dopamine ghost.
a lot of people, unfortunately, like it's common, like for example, in countries like Japan, where people need to pay someone to just go for a walk.
Really?
Because they're so lonely. And
really?
Or they have to pay a prostitute for sex, and like everything is transactional.
Wait, do they literally have to spend money to go for a walk?
Oh yeah, they have those rentable girlfriends, whatever.
It's crazy. Like this is crazy. Like this is which finally just let's summarize the whole freaking podcast today, which is coming back. Friendships is all about, you know, become freaking elevate yourself, man. Like become grow as a human being, like freaking go through those processes, go through the suffering, go through the pain, you know, assess yourself, see where you need to, where the work needs to be done, do the freaking work, do the practices, put yourself out there, and freaking grow into a person that people want to be friends with, you know, that people admire and that you yourself admire. You know, grow into a person that you yourself can admire. And
but how about the question itself?
The question,
the 5 years.
So what sort of friendships? For me?
Yeah.
Well, for me, more friends like you guys, man. Like a entrepreneurial mindset, like a growth mindset, like, you know, going places. We're trying to accomplish things. We're trying to be the best version of ourselves. We want to have these wonderful experiences and just freaking enjoy each other's company. Like our relationship is not even based on any of these things, you know. Essentially, it's based on just freaking like love, essentially love, you know, and like just you know, hanging out, being guys, being ourselves, hanging out, being ourselves, and just enjoying the rest of the journey. Our friendships is
enjoying the rest of the journey with a joint.
To finish off, our relationships is a gift from God, bro.
Oh, yes.
Amen.
Our relationships a gift from God, bro. For real.
So, yeah, it is, and especially after I learned today that you're expecting to see us in Paul de Mar. I mean, that even makes this more special and mysterious and incredible. So
True.
Anyhow, thank you so much for.
You want to answer too? Do you have a?
Oh, I didn't answer yet.
You didn't answer.
Oh, sorry, I answered in my head already. I thought I answered, but I answered in my head.
That's the ADHD.
Psychically.
It is. Yeah. So these next few years will be filled with relationships that are mostly beneficial for the mission that we're building with the investment company. So I'm foreseeing a lot of relationships with people who are making systemic change around the world on various scales, whether it's a city scale or a country scale, and co-designing structures with them that will literally create a more equitable future for our children. And it's already happening. But the astrological chart that I had a reading for an astrological chart, and that's literally what he told me.
Wonderful.
So, guys, we're guided.
I think we've
supported.
recorded a wonderful podcast today.
Yeah,
I'm really happy with what we got, and I'm glad we did this again today. This was the
slowly.
right time.
Next time
a little bit better.
Yeah, every time a little bit better.
Thank you guys for joining me here today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
all
for
the
listening.
best. Au revoir. See you next time. Bye bye.
Ciao.